Welcome back to Pokemon Episode Summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 303, a 3-team scheme. The episode begins with Ash and the gang having returned to the main beach by Dewford so that Ash could get in some last-minute training there, since he hadn't really been able to find a good training spot elsewhere, so he's like, why not use the spot that Brawly always used anyways? This training involved running super fast, and it wasn't just Ash involved in this training, as Brock was running ahead with a whistle, blowing it every so often to cue everyone else to make sure they were keeping pace. Yeah, that's right, because it wasn't just Ash and Brock running either. It was, of course, all of Ash's Pokemon, as well as Max and May, as they'd all decided that they could use some physical training to improve just, their overall physical health. Ash and Max were a few feet behind Brock. All of Ash's Pokemon, including Tailo, Pikachu, Corphish, and Trico, were behind Ash and Max, and May was behind all of the Pokemon, though pretty severely far behind, as she was still barely used to running due to having her bike all the time. Yeah, that's right, even after, over 20 episodes this season, she still hadn't gotten fully used to running yet, and she was super exhausted. After a while of running, though, May was actually able to catch up with everyone else, as Brock had suddenly stopped, leading everyone else to stop as well, as Ash questioned why Brock stopped. This led Brock to reveal that he had spotted someone on a cliff, climbing it, as he pointed to this. Since the cliff was so far in the distance, though, they could only make out that it was a relatively large object. So everyone simply stared at it, wondering what the fuck it could be. It's then revealed to us what the large object was, as it was Professor Birch, as he was inspecting a nest of baby Wingull, taking interest in it. Just then, though, the mother Wingull, fearing for all of its babies, returned to the nest and saw Birch as a threat and began to peck at him, causing him to fall down. And to make matters worse, when he fell down the cliff, he landed on a sleeping Loudred, likely the same one from the previous 2 episodes where we had seen the Loudred. Obviously, the Loudred woke up because of this. So when Loudred got up, it of course shook Birch off of him, causing Birch to finally notice the Loudred as he got up himself. Birch was somewhat excited as he wanted to do some research on the Loudred, but just then, the angry Loudred screamed at Professor Birch with Screech, blowing Professor Birch back as he falls over, almost passed out from the sheer volume of the screech. Loudred then takes this opportunity to dig into the ground and burrow away, after running around trying to find the perfect spot on the beach to dig first. As for Ash and the gang, they had saw what they initially thought was only a large object falling off the cliff, so they went to go check on it and found out that it was actually Professor Birch, just like the audience had found out. Ash and the gang were very excited to see Birch, as it had been quite a while, and this was actually Brock's first time actually fully meeting him, with the exception of when he quickly stopped by Little Root Town to ask him where Ash had went off to. But that was very brief. So Brock, along with the rest of the gang, happily greeted Birch, as Birch just suggested that they should catch up so that Birch could tell them what he'd been doing, and Ash and the gang could explain what they'd been doing since the last time they saw each other in Little Root Town. Ash and the gang were down with this, so they, along with Professor Birch, all sat on some rocks by the cliff and began to catch up, with Brock starting off by detailing his adventures with Ash and the gang and thanking Professor Birch for helping him reach Ash and the others. Ash then interjected, questioning why Professor Birch was currently on Dewford Island, leading Professor Birch to reveal that it was currently in Wingull's nesting season, and he wanted to study them during this time in their natural environment, clarifying that the Wingull's natural environment was Dewford Island, as Wingull were very famous on Dewford Island, with a lot of them being there, and he also had found out that they liked to build their nests at the cliffs, and clarified that that was what he was doing on the cliffs. He was analyzing the Wingull's natural environment. May then interrupted Birch, scolding Birch for doing something dangerous, and asking why he would put himself at risk just to study the Wingull's natural habitat, leading Max to remind May that Professor Birch was famous for his field research, and basically he would forget about any danger he could potentially face because he was so intrigued by his field research, and he preferred being out in the field, so basically he would put himself at risk and forget about any risks just to keep researching. Professor Birch then admitted that Max was right, flattered that Max was so interested in what he did, stating that he much preferred to do field work as opposed to sitting in the lab all day because he was able to get up close to Pokemon and see all the wonders up close. This led May to rebuttal that a fucking Wingull nesting and the Wingull in their natural habitat wasn't very fucking interesting, but Max simply replied that everything about Pokemon was interesting, no matter what. This led Professor Birch to laugh, remarking that Max was really interesting himself due to liking Pokemon so much, happy that someone shared his own love for Pokemon. Professor Birch then changed the subject of the conversation, as he asked Ash if he had challenged the gym leader in Dewford yet, wondering why Ash and the gang hadn't left to Slateport City yet, since that was apparently the next destination. Basically, Professor Birch thought that Ash would easily be the second gym by now, but Ash embarrassingly admitted that he kinda lost, while laughing nervously, trying to shrug this off. Meanwhile, behind some more rocks nearby, Team Rocket was spying on Ash and the gang and Birch, and they questioned what the fuck Professor Birch was doing all the way out in Dewford, not hearing his explanation, as they had just arrived. Meowth then came to the false assumption that Professor Birch must have had some valuable Pokemon with him due to being a professor, or he was at Dewford to find a rare Pokemon, and suspected that either way, they could either steal a rare Pokemon from Birch, or have Birch lead them to a rare Pokemon. So, Team Rocket began to plan a way to ambush Birch. Anyways, back with Ash and the gang and Birch, Ash immediately felt the need to jump up and defend his loss against the Dewford gym, as he, along with Max, May, and Brock, crowded around Birch, all eager to tell him about shit. Ash went first, stating that although he had lost his battle against the Dewford City gym leader Brawly, he had full intention of rematching him, which was why he was currently training, and after he beat Brawly, he still desired to beat every single Hoenn gym and challenge the Hoenn Pokemon League. May then jumped in, taking the opportunity to explain to Birch, hoping that he wouldn't tell her father that she didn't plan to take on the gyms like Ash, and was instead planning to participate in Pokemon contests in hopes of becoming a top coordinator. Birch promised he wouldn't tell May's father, knowing that he would probably be somewhat pissed off, and stated how he was proud of Ash and May for both pursuing the goals that they wanted to. Birch then changed the subject a little bit again, stating that he would be staying a little bit longer on the island to continue researching, and asked Ash and the gang if they wanted to join him in his research for the day, leaving Ash, May, and Max extremely excited, really wanting to join up with Birch. Brock, on the other hand, politely declined, stating that Ash, May, and Max should all decline as well, as he pulled out both his training schedule that he had made for Ash and the gang, as well as a contract that Ash and the gang had signed, agreeing that they would do whatever Brock ordered when it came to training, as he then blew a whistle and ordered them to continue running, just like they were doing before they spotted Birch, clarifying that Ash and the gang had to continue training whether they liked it or not, because they had signed a goddamn contract, and also assured them that they were a long way from completing his training, and he'd rather they not delay the completion of the training any further, not wanting it to be set back. Ash and the gang simply rebutted that Professor Birch's research and going with him what was training for them, and they went off telling Brock that they would merely do whatever he had planned tomorrow, leaving Brock sad as fuck, as he had worked so hard to put together the schedule, and now it wasn't even going to be completed for a while. Suck it up, bitch. Meanwhile, in a field on Dewford Island, far away from the ocean, a red helicopter landed, and several people dressed in red uniforms, Team Magma grunts, leaped out, smiling. The last one to step out was one of Team Magma's most powerful agents, one of their admins, Tabitha. Anyways, Brock reluctantly followed Birch and the rest of the gang, as Birch took them to a cave. Ash and the gang questioned what was so important about this large cave, leading Birch to state that, according to some rumors, there was apparently a lot of Golbat in this cave. So, hearing this, Ash and the gang and Birch decided to go inside the cave and investigate it. However, by the time they reached the end of the big cave, they hadn't encountered a single Golbat, and instead, at the end of the cave, they encountered a small wooden door, which was blocking the way out, so they either had to enter the door, or they would be at a dead end in the cave. Max was curious about why the door was there, so he walked up to it and knocked to see if anyone was on the other side, but no one answered, so he decided that it would probably be best to try and open the door and go investigate, though he realized that the door could potentially be locked. Much to his relief, though, when he checked the knob, he realized that it was unlocked, although this made him hesitant to open the door, thinking that it could perhaps be a trap, but Ash had the courage to open the door, so they all went inside. Immediately upon entry, Ash and the gang found a room that was actually extremely well decorated, having a Pokeball desk and a Pokeball chair, along with plants, a bookshelf, pictures, and several other tables, as well as a computer, some boxes, and a Zigzagoon and a Zero plush. Max then theorized that since no one was in this well-decorated room, perhaps it was meant as like a safe space that a person would come to if things got bad, referring to it as a secret base, having heard of secret bases in some Pokemon books before. Essentially, in the games at least, secret bases were places that trainers could customize, basically like their own little house. As Max examined the room, he took particular interest in the bookshelf, as he noticed a book about Pokemon battle strategies, so he took it off the shelf and began to read, while May and Ash tried to comprehend everything Max was reading, when suddenly, a small little boy and his Nankata rushed into the room, screaming, giving Ash and the gang no time to question what the fuck his Nankata was, as they had never seen a Nankata before, but it was in fact a Hoenn Pokemon. The boy then continued to yell at Ash and the gang, demanding answers as to why they had intruded into his secret base. Ash was obviously shocked by this, as he and the gang and Birch had no intention of trespassing into this guy's secret base, and he tried to explain that, stating also that they thought that they had merely just stumbled by after coming across a strange door in a cave. The boy was so mad, though, that he didn't even hear what Ash had said, and merely just complained about how his secret base wasn't secret anymore, as he angrily ordered his Nankata to attack Ash and the gang and Birch, to get revenge. Nankata was about to oblige, trying to attack Ash and the gang and Birch with Fury Swipes, but Ash and the gang were able to run out, hightailing it out of the secret base in time, immensely terrified, though they were so terrified that they almost couldn't walk. Just as Ash and the gang ran out of the secret base, Team Rocket, who was hiding behind a blue tarp against a wall in the cave, that was also blue, so they were camouflaging, emerged, having seen everything that had just occurred, since the door was open. Team Rocket was interested in the boy's secret base, finding it cool, but they found the kid's Ninkata way cooler, with Meowth and James commenting that it seemed pretty strong due to the Fury Swipes. And Jessie agreed, although she was more fixated on the fact that the Ninkata would be easy to steal since it was owned by a child. Damn! Team Rocket hit a new low, stealing from a little kid. Back with Ash and the gang, they had managed to run all the way back to the entrance of the cave, and after this, they had all collapsed onto the ground, needing a goddamn breather. Ash was impressed by the boy's secret base, even though he kinda hated the boy for chasing them out, and asked Birch what the fuck a secret base even was, as he didn't know trainers could have them, leading Birch to explain that secret bases were all the rage, specifically in Hoenn now, and added that trainers put them up everywhere, as their own little hideaway, where they could store a whole bunch of shit, such as training supplies. Ash was amazed by this, now wanting his own secret base, though he realized that he would have nothing to put in it. Ash then questioned if they were going to go back into the cave to continue Birch's research, but Birch simply retorted that he had already come to the conclusion that there was no Golbat in there and that the rumors were a lie, and he didn't want to go back in the cave since the kid was there anyways, so he proposed that they go to a second cave, which he was also researching, and Ash and the gang agreed, although Brock was kind of disappointed, as it would just take longer for Ash and the gang to get back to the beach and resume his training. With Ash and the gang scared off, back in the cave, the boy was happy again that his secret base at least wouldn't be discovered by anyone else, hopefully, as he began to clean up, as his Ninkata had unleashed a Fury Swipes around the room, hoping that it would hit Ash and the gang, even though it didn't. As the boy was cleaning, though, he then heard a knock at the door, so he answered it, only to find no one at the door. So he turned around, admitting that he must have just thought he heard something, when suddenly, Team Rocket appeared behind him, right before he went back into his base. They pretend to be his friends, smiling and greeting him, but then they pulled out their Pokeballs, threatening to send out their Pokemon to attack him, causing the boy to scream, and seconds later, to run the fuck away, outside of his secret base, as Team Rocket were already making their way in. So, with the boy away, Team Rocket could now enter the base, just as they planned. Laughing their asses off at their good plan to scare away the boy, as they watched the boy run away from inside his secret base. Team Rocket then searched around the base, and immediately Meowth found what they were looking for, Ninkata, as he had happily sat on it, declaring dominance over it, and begging it to join Team Rocket, because of this, trying to be as nice to it as possible. Meanwhile, in the water, right by Dewford Island, a submarine emerged from underneath the water that had none other than a Team Aqua symbol on it, signifying that Team Aqua had arrived, and just then, several Team Aqua grunts all put on some scuba gear and took a moment to examine the Dewford coast before jumping into the water and swimming towards the island. It wasn't just Team Aqua grunts, though. There was also one of their most notable members, one of their admins, Shelly, who dived in last as she put on her scuba gear. Meanwhile, back with Team Rocket, back inside the secret base still, Jessie used her Cascoon to tie Ninkata up with its string shot, as she praised her Cascoon for a good job, although she called it Silcoon, still believing after all these episodes that her Cascoon was the same as May's, a Silcoon. As Jessie then happily hugged her Cascoon, stating that it had done a very crucial job of tying Ninkata up, since Ninkata wouldn't obey them unless it was forced to by being tied up. Meowth and James just sighed in annoyance, as they had obviously realized that Jessie's what she believed was a Silcoon was actually a Cascoon, and they were very annoyed at Jessie for not realizing this yet, debating if and when they should inform Jessie of the truth of her Cascoon. Although they decided not to just yet, fearing that Jessie would get immensely angry if she found out, and they decided to distract themselves from Jessie's annoying behavior by messing around with the boy's computer in the secret base, soon deciding to call Giovanni just to see if he would answer, even though they thought that he wouldn't. But to James and Meowth's surprise, Giovanni actually answered. However, James and Meowth were so surprised to see that he actually answered that they fell over in shock, leading Jessie to see Giovanni on screen and rush to it to talk to him, as James and Meowth finally got back up and joined her. Giovanni then inquires as to how Team Rocket's progress was going in Hoenn, leading Team Rocket to lie that it was going extremely great, and they even had their own Team Rocket base now, as they showed off the boys' secret base, claiming it as their own. Giovanni was not impressed though, even as Team Rocket showed him a multitude of things in the room, including a painting of a Relicanth, stating his belief that a secret Team Rocket base should be intimidating, not look like a goddamn child's room, not knowing that it was actually a child's room. Team Rocket quickly covered their asses, not wanting to upset Giovanni, as they claimed that they were planning on renovating it, and definitely would get to work on that soon. Giovanni then changed the subject a little bit, asking if Team Rocket had managed to take care of the other teams in Hoenn that he had mentioned, leading James to admit that they were working on it, which pissed Giovanni off, displeased that his members hadn't dealt with the teams yet, but Meowth tried to reassure him that soon enough, Team Rocket would be the only evil team in Hoenn. Giovanni was still disappointed and pissed the fuck off, so he decided to hang up, not wanting to talk to those imbeciles anymore, as he simply requested that they report to him again when the renovations to the base were done. And before Team Rocket could even promise to do this, Giovanni bitterly hung up. At first, Team Rocket sighed in relief that Giovanni had hung up, since they didn't have to lie anymore, though their sighs of relief soon turned into sighs of depression, knowing that the only way they could get promotions was if they obliged to Giovanni's orders, so that meant they would have to get working to try and stop these other teams, and also renovate this base. Jessie, however, comforted herself and James and Meowth, stating that renovating the base would be easy, and now that they had a base and a new Pokemon, being Ninkata, they should be able to easily defeat the two rival teams in Hoenn, and gain control of the region in no time, causing Jessie, James, and Meowth to all chant with joy, declaring their plan to become the dominant evil team in Hoenn, the only evil team, in hopes to get a promotion from Giovanni. Meanwhile, Ash and the gang had explored another cave that Professor Birch said was rumored to also have Golbat, but much to Professor Birch's dismay, this cave didn't have Golbat either, so they exited this cave disappointed. As they were all leaving, though, May was the first one to spot the boy from earlier, having also left the previous cave, and he was now sulking sadly on a rock. So, Ash and the gang went up to him to ask what was wrong, and apologized for before, stating that they didn't mean to trespass, and introduce themselves. The boy introduced himself as well, as Keanu. However, he didn't accept Ash and the gang's apology at all, telling them to go the fuck away. Max then noticed, however, that the boy's Ninkata was gone, and asked where he was, and the boy began to cry, in turn revealing that the reason why he was so fucking upset was because his Ninkata and his secret base were stolen by some people. Meanwhile, back with Team Rocket, inside of Keanu's base, they had decided to begin renovating, as Jessie ordered her Cascoon, who she still believed was a Silcoon, to use a string shot to make a string leash, and she tied it to Ninkata so that it couldn't escape, as she released it from its previous webbing and commanded it to start digging. in hopes that the Ninkata could make the base bigger, as that was one of their main remodel plans, since the base had to be a lot bigger if it was going to fit a whole bunch of the Team Rocket members inside. As for James and Meowth, Meowth was sweeping the floor, trying to get rid of any dirty shit before the remodel, and James was trying to get rid of some of the decorations so that they could replace them with new ones. Just then, though, Team Rocket got startled as the door to the secret base swung open and Team Magma ran inside. Upon seeing Team Magma, Team Rocket instantly recognized them from episode 2 of the season, as we see a flashback of this. Remember when they were at those ruins in Odell Town and captured Professor Alden and all that shit? Yeah, they remembered that. Jesse, knowing that Team Rocket had competition in the form of Team Magma, as they were one of their opposing teams, instantly ordered Team Magma to get the fuck out, explaining they were trespassing, and that this was Team Rocket's base. The Team Magma admin, Tabitha, simply stated that he'd never heard of a Team Rocket before, and asked them who the fuck they were, informing them that they were in the way, and this base belonged to Team Magma now, and demanded them to get the fuck out. Team Rocket obviously refused, wanting to defend the new base, as they answered Tabitha's question as to who they were by doing their motto, but before they could finish their motto, Tabitha and several of the Team Magma grunts sent out some Mightyena to attack. The Mightyena then were about to go and attack Team Rocket, and just as one of them almost bit down on Jesse and James, Jesse, James, and Meowth were all able to run away out of the base, giving up as they ran away in fear. With Team Rocket having left, Team Magma could continue their plans, as they went back outside for a sec, and brought out what they had outside that Team Rocket had happened to pass by, being a large orange drill. This drill proceeds to crush all of Keanu's shit in his base, and then makes its way to the back of the base, and drills a hole in the back wall, making a tunnel. After Tabitha made sure the hole was perfect, he motioned all the other Team Magma grunts to follow him through it, as he went through first. Meanwhile, back with Ash and the gang, Keanu proceeded to explain how his base in Pokemon had been taken by a group of people, and went into detail about how they actually took them. It took a little while for Ash and the gang to grasp all this through the boy Keanu's crying, but they eventually were able to. Keanu then continues to cry, complaining about how much effort he and his Ninkata, who he had big, put so much effort into the base to build it, and how much he missed his Ninkata, explaining that he had never won a battle with his Ninkata, so that's why he built the base, because he wanted a secret place to train with his Ninkata to make it stronger that no one else would know about. Also adding that, even though he built this secret base to help train Ninkata seemed not to like the base, as it always seemed in a bad mood. Ash and Max were surprised at the fact that Keanu had never won a single goddamn battle, while May was completely enraged at everything Keanu just said, scolding him with 2 primary points, stating that after he caught a Pokemon, he was supposed to train it and battle it with other opponents, not train it by itself in a fucking base, and also suggested that Keanu should quit fucking crying and instead focus on finding his Ninkata. Ash, Max, Brock, and Birch were embarrassed by May's sheer yelling, and Max commented that May isn't one to talk about Pokemon training because she never trained her Pokemon herself, and also she had no right to complain about Keanu moping around when he lost his Pokemon, because May always moped around whenever she lost Torchic or Silcoon. May then falls over in humiliation from all this. But Ash, on the other hand, stood up, claiming that he had an idea. He was going to help Keanu get his base and his Ninkata back. And also, if they could get the Ninkata and his base back, then Ash promised he would train Keanu to get stronger. Keanu was pleased by this and thanked Ash immensely, finally accepting his previous apology. Meanwhile, back with Team Magma. After going through the hole that had been dug out by the drill, they had arrived at another cave that was attached to the end of the one from the one that they had just left. This cave was huge and had an ancient shrine in the middle. Tabitha then gave a hand signal, which made a grunt press a button to launch 2 missiles from the drill and into the cave ceiling. However, upon reaching the ceiling, they weren't destructive missiles. They actually revealed themselves as 2 bright spotlights, which helped light the dark part of the cave so that they could see better. Tabitha then happily declares that Team Magma had finally made it to their destination, the Cave of Origin, and ordered the others to follow him through it quickly. And they obliged, as Team Rocket watched from behind some rocks, wondering what the fuck Team Magma were doing, with James complaining about how they could have just escaped and not bothered with chasing Team Magma. But Jesse reminded him of their orders to stop Team Magma from Giovanni, and stated that if Team Magma really was a threat, then whatever they were doing must be important. So suggested that they all actually be quiet, so that they could actually try and find out what Team Magma was doing. And Team Rocket soon was able to discern that Team Magma had arrived at a site called the Cave of Origin, and Jesse decided that they were clearly going there to look for some rare shit, and suggested that Team Rocket take whatever rare shit or rare relics Team Magma found for themselves. Jesse quickly changed her plan though, exclaiming that instead of waiting for Team Magma to find the shit for them, they should just go in and find the shit first, and then leave before Team Magma found them. However, Team Magma had already entered the shrine at this point, as they rode the orange drill down the shrine to a small blue pedestal with 2 holes in it, and the Team Magma members then got out of the drill, and Tabitha ordered all of the grunts to search the area. Team Rocket didn't want to be left behind though, so they got to where Team Magma had just arrived by Jessie having her Cascoon use string shot to make a rope out of the string so that Team Rocket could go down there. James and Meowth now went down extremely hesitantly, though, as once they had heard Jessie call her Cascoon Silcoon again, they proceeded to debate once again if they should tell Jessie that it was actually Cascoon, but James denied this, making the final call, since he didn't want to risk upsetting Jessie at all. Meanwhile, Ash and the gang, Birch and Keanu, had returned to Keanu's secret base in hopes of reclaiming it, but much to Keanu's horror, he became enraged when he saw that all of his shit had been destroyed and questioned who the fuck could have done this, when suddenly Ash was the first one to spot the massive hole that was drilled through the base, and declared that whoever did this must have went through that hole, and promised Keanu that they wouldn't get away. Everyone else then notices the hole as well, and they all go through it. Meanwhile, the Team Magma Grunts were doing a very, very extensive search, just as they had been ordered by Tabitha, and while some of the grunts were talking to each other, we could overhear them mention how they were searching for something only known as the letter G. As Team Magma was searching, though, several of them spotted on their detectors some movement, and feared that Team Aqua could be lurking nearby. So, some of the grunts warned Tabitha of this, calling him, and Tabitha then walked towards the water, awaiting to see if Team Aqua would reveal themselves. As he then hung up, thanking the three grunts that had warned him, a big grunt, a grunt with purple hair, and a grunt with blue hair. At the same time, as Tabitha was waiting by the edge of the water for Team Aqua to appear, as it would obviously make sense for Team Aqua to come from the water, Team Rocket had arrived just outside the actual ruins and were now making their way inside. As for Ash and the gang, they had went through the hole and were impressed by the shrine and went inside as well, as Team Rocket already had. Anyways, back with Team Magma, Team Aqua soon surfaced from the water. Of course, since Tabitha and the Team Magma Grunts were prepared for this though, Tabitha quickly sent out his Mightyena and had it attack with Shadow Ball. But then, Shelly, the admin of Team Aqua, sends out her Carvana to use a hydro pump to deflect the Shadow Ball attack, creating a huge explosion that creates smoke. Both teams then stared each other down, as they were both able to identify each other as opposing teams. One Team Magma, one Team Aqua. Of course, the two opposing teams were about to fight each other, but Shelly stopped her grunts and Tabitha stopped his grunts, as they both explained that both teams didn't want this cave to be destroyed, as that could harm to what they were searching for. To avoid any potential conflict as well, the Team Magma admin Tabitha permitted Shelly to send her Team Aqua grunts to search the area as well for what Team Aqua was looking for. So Shelly does just this, as she sends in her Team Aqua grunts, and Tabitha and Shelly are left staring at each other, leading them to taunt each other, stating that what they wanted from the ruins was better than what the other team wanted, with Tabitha stating that the world should be all land, but Shelly stating that the world should be entirely an ocean, which implied that whatever Team Magma was searching for would help make the land all land, and whatever Team Aqua was searching for would help turn the world into entirely an ocean. Meanwhile, Ash and the gang had arrived where Team Magma and Team Aqua were, and were spying, along with Birch, atop some rocks where they couldn't be seen. And Ash and the gang were confused, as they didn't quite understand what Team Aqua and Team Magma were fighting about, as they had known that Team Magma and Team Aqua both existed, but they didn't know they were opposing forces, leading Professor Birch to state that they were in fact opposing forces and had been fighting in Hoenn for a long time, both of them being notorious troublemaking teams, extremely evil, explaining that they each had a different view on how the world should be. Brock then remembered that they were all looking for Keanu's Ninkata, and asked Keanu if either of these teams had been the ones who had stolen his Ninkata, with Keanu denying this, stating that the team that took his Ninkata had a Meowth with them. Meanwhile, back down below, Team Rocket was now spying on Team Magma and Team Aqua from behind a little blue crate that was in the cave, connected to the shrine, and they listened intently as Shelly and Tabitha continued stating their viewpoints and arguing, with Tabitha arguing that if Shelly got a hold of what she wanted, being the blue orb, then she, or Team Aqua, would put the world in danger, since they couldn't be trusted with it. However, Shelly retorted that if Tabitha and Team Magma got what they wanted, the red orb, they wouldn't be able to be trusted with it either. Basically, both teams clearly thought they were the ones in the right, with both Shelly and Tabitha calling each other too tactical to wield the orb that they wanted, which would bring about raging power. Shelly then told Tabitha that she understood that Team Magma wanted the power of the land, but the power of the ocean could just be way fucking better, since it could control everything, taking over all the land. With Tabitha essentially stating the opposite, obviously being more in favor of the land. Neither Shelly or Tabitha wavered in their viewpoints, though, as they had them heavily instilled by the bosses of Team Magma and Team Aqua, because they were essentially their second in commands, so they had the same values. Suddenly, both Tabitha and Shelly get messages from their grunts, with the Team Magma grunts informing Tabitha that they couldn't locate what they were looking for, G, and the Team Aqua grunts informing Shelly that they couldn't find what they were looking for, K. Both Tabitha and Shelly also received word from their grunts that they had found out the ancient ruins weren't actually the Cave of Origin, like both teams thought, but simply just an ancient shrine of worship. Upon hearing this, Tabitha and Shelly were both angry, and they decided to release their anger by battling each other to prove which team was stronger and had the right ideals. So, they both called back their grunts to help them out, and the battle was about to begin between Tabitha's Mightyena and Shelly's Carvana, when suddenly, Tabitha and Shelly both recalled their Pokémon after a long stare down, since both admins had suddenly changed their mind, claiming that a battle wasn't worth each of their time, and they had both collected enough information to leave. So, The Team Aqua members then dive away back into the water as the Team Magma members fly back up the cave on their drill, leaving Ash and the gang and Team Rocket immensely confused as to what the fuck Team Magma and Team Aqua were even searching for, and why they were so willing to suddenly leave after they were just about to battle. With Team Magma and Team Aqua gone, Team Rocket emerged from the crate that they were standing behind as Wobbuffet forcibly popped out of his Pokeball, and they began to cheer the fact that they were now believed to be by themselves, so they could go into the ruins and steal whatever inevitable treasure must have been inside, thinking that Team Aqua and Team Magma must have just missed it, and declared that with this new treasure, it would make their new secret base awesome. And hoped that they could maybe even use it to help with digging as well, or at least find something to help with digging to make their base bigger. Upon hearing all this, Ash and the gang realized that Team Rocket was the one who had stolen Keanu's base, and Keanu confirmed this when he saw them. And Ash and the gang also knew that Team Rocket were the culprits when they saw that Jessie still had Ninkata with her, tied up in another web made by Silcoon, because she didn't want to risk leaving it behind. Obviously, wanting to get Ninkata back, Ash and the gang, Keanu, and Birch revealed themselves from the cliff that they were hiding on, as Ash called down to Team Rocket and stated that he would do everything in his power to not let Team Rocket escape with the Ninkata, as May then used her Silcoon to use String Shot to create a rope down to the shrine just outside it where Team Rocket was. Ash then got a cloth out of his backpack and put it around the makeshift rope, telling Keanu that he had to slide down to reach Team Rocket, and advised Keanu to come with him. However, Keanu was hesitant, as he was really scared to slide down, so Ash tried to motivate him by sliding down and reaching the bottom by Team Rocket himself. Keanu was still hesitant though, so May tried to motivate him some more by explaining to Keanu that if he really wanted his Ninkata back, then he had to be willing to take risks for it. And as Birch, Brock, and Max encouraged Keanu to slide down, he eventually gathered up the courage to. So, as Ash and Team Rocket were arguing, like usual, about how Team Rocket should give back the Pokemon they stole, this time being Ninkata, and Team Rocket of course refusing, Keanu then came sliding down and fell off the rope, landing directly on Team Rocket and Ash, knocking them down. Although Ninkata wasn't landed on, as it managed to get away just in time, being able to barely fly away, even while being stuck in the Cascoon webbing. However, Ninkata wouldn't be trapped in this webbing for much longer though, as Ash was able to get back up before Team Rocket, while Ninkata was still flying, and he told Pikachu to use Iron Tail to cut the webbing, and Pikachu did so, freeing Ninkata as it landed on the ground. Just then, Keanu got back up, and he wanted revenge on Team Rocket, as he told his Ninkata to use Secret Power on the still down Team Rocket, sending Team Rocket blasting off right out of the cave. As Keanu cheered at having his Ninkata back, Ash and the gang, Birch and Keanu then go outside the cave to say goodbye to each other, with Keanu thanking Ash and the gang for all their help, leading Ash and the gang to congratulate Keanu on finally battling some people with his Ninkata, stating that his Ninkata truly was powerful, and he had raised it great, as Ash took the opportunity to finally learn about Ninkata by scanning it with his Pokedex. Keanu thanked Ash and the gang for the compliment, and agreed that his Ninkata was special, because he had taught it a special move, Secret Power, which had the ability to make his secret base. Essentially, it was a surefire way to create a good secret base. And Keanu then promised that even though Team Rocket had destroyed his current secret base, he was going to use Secret Power to make another one. Keanu then reveals that after beating Team Rocket, he had become motivated and declared that now he was going to challenge all the Hoenn gyms, as he and Ash shook hands, with Keanu promising to battle Ash when he got stronger. The episode then ends with May happy that Keanu wasn't mad at any of them anymore, and happy at the fact that Keanu was finally motivated to battle and had a rival in Ash. Amazed at how quickly new rivalries could form.